Shall I start now?
15 minutes, please.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Ahmed, for the invitation, and thank you for the invitation from ITAR Group. It's my pleasure to be with you here today. And today we're gonna discuss together the first part of the Stata workshop. I'm gonna share my screen. So the Stata workshop, our part is about data cleaning and descriptive statistics. You should have ideally Stata open with you, so you can take note or practice what we try to explain together during the class. And if you have any question, you can ask, you can type your question in the chat, or you can ask at the end of the session. So this session will be important for people that work in quantitative analysis, whether you want to publish a paper in accounting and finance or any other domain in the business, or you're doing a PhD or a master degree level and using quantitative data. Basically, the statistical analysis part in the PhD or in the master dissertation or in the research paper will contain at least 5 main components. The first one is data management, how to manage the data, including downloading the data, gathering the data, and put it in a software that can help you in analyzing the data, such as SPSS, R, or Stata. Then you need to describe or provide some descriptive statistics tables, and this is what we're going to cover today. And then regression models, what model that fit your type of data and what type of regression you can use. For example, ordinary least square, OLS, or fixed effect, random effect, GLS, or mixed effect, or whatever. Well, if you test the moderation, you might use GMM, SBA, or we'll go through all of that, hopefully in the upcoming classes. And then we'll go the robustness check and how to do robustness check, tackle the endogeneity, how to do 2SLS, and how to do lagging variable, and then the addition analysis end. So basically the course will cover all the statistical analysis part from the research method until the conclusion in your dissertation or in your research paper. Just some housekeeping that I'm a good user of Stata, I'm not expert. So it's a knowledge transfer that you might point out an information that I will learn from you and you learn from me as well. The second point, that the question has to be in using Stata itself, because if we open the door or the floor for question about research method, we will find million questions that we are not able to finish in one set. So each one of you or each one of the audience have their own title, have their own independent variable, have their own control variable. So they have their own questions, and that might be answered. I can help on that, but this will be outside the scope of today's class, because we are focusing on dealing the data from the Stata point of view, not question like how many variable is enough for my model, is control variable good for my model or not, because these are very specific questions that need to be tailored to your story and your research, right? So we'll try to keep it from the analysis point of view, right? So what we're gonna try to cover today, preparing data in Excel sheet, how to make the data in Excel sheet in a format that is acceptable to be used in Stata, how to import the data into Stata, how to construct the study variable in Stata, how to clean the data and data management. And this is very, very important part. Most of the researchers, especially in the lower grade, such as level 7, they forgot or they don't really pay attention to the data management, what type of data I have. So therefore, I will decide a good regression model that will be suitable for my data. And then we'll prepare some descriptive statistics and univariate analysis. We'll prepare the correlation matrix and how to take this result in a publishable table, how to take the data, the result from SPSS in a nice table, because one of the mistake from master student, they take a snapshot or they just copy the table as it is from Stata and SPSS and doesn't look professional in your dissertation. So how you take the table in a better format into your dissertation or into your chapter or into your research paper. I'll have a look in the chat if there is a question here. Okay, wa alaikum assalam. Just we'll use the chat only if you have question, please, so we can keep the management of time. Right, after that, so what we'll cover today, preparing the Excel file, importing the data set, how to deal with a string variable, how to merge more than one data set. So question you might ask, how to merge more than data set. Let's say if you download some data at the start of your PhD or your master, and after 6 months you collect another data again. Do I need to do everything from scratch, or there is a mechanism in Stata to combine two data set together? Let's say if you download data from Bloomberg as a database, and after 1 week you download another variable from data stream, another variables from audit analytics, another variable from Bordex. So when I download, for example, the governance variable are not reaching Bloomberg, and I go and download that from Bordex, but I need in my study to put all these two data set together. So we will learn as well how to merge more than one data set in one Stata file in very simple way. And after that, how to rename the variable, label the variable, check if I have any error or duplicates, creating group ID, identifying the data set as a panel data, and how to get from here, from the sum, is the outcome that we're going to use in our dissertation, how to create a summary statistics table, how to create a univar table, problem that we can see in this table, and how to fix this problem, treating the outliers, export the descriptive and correlation table in a publisher format. So this is a topic that we will try to highlight together today, hopefully in the next 1 hour or 1 hour and a half. If you have any question that stop you from carrying out the following command, please put in the chat straight away so we fix that so you can follow me. If the question is just a generic question that you can keep at the end of the session, that will be better to keep the rhythm of the class smoothly. Okay, so we're gonna start from the beginning. I have here an Excel file I generated before. So this Excel file is just a dummy to play with it today. So let's say you have your own data already. Okay, this phase is already done. Now you have an Excel file that have the variables downloaded from Bloomberg or data stream, and I have another videos, or we can do another classes for how to collect the data. But our starting point today that you have already data in an Excel file. So the data in Excel file, as you can see, the only format accepted by Stata that the name of the variable are columns in the column, right? So the name of the variable has to be like that. If you downloaded the data and the data name is in the rows, not in the columns, then you have to do some data transportation or transpose to the data, or you use Trivot or any other tool in Excel, but we need the data in this shape or in this style, that the variable name are in the column and the numbers here. So we have in 2013 this company, this is the board size, this is the board independency, audit committee, etc., etc. What you can see here is just a random variable, so it will be vary. If someone doing governance, he will see variables from the governance. If someone doing profit, he will see variable from the profit. If someone doing, for example, cost of equity or cost of debt, he will use variable for that. If someone doing CSR, he will use variable of CSR. So I'm just generate or gathered some randomized data that can be used to run today class and the upcoming classes as well. This class will run over 6 weeks, right? So today we'll cover the cleaning data and the descriptive part. From next week or the next session, we'll look in the regression models. Okay, the meeting record, yes, I'm not sure about that, but again, please raise question if it's necessary. Place an urgent matter for our session. Otherwise, I'm not sure about the record. Okay, so the variable name here in the top. So the first step after I download the file, I download the data from Bloomberg in Excel format, or from data stream, or from audit analytics, or any source of data, or I collect it manually. So you collect your data, you have to put the data in this format, that the variable name are in the columns, variable names are in the columns, and the numbers or the value of the variables are in the rows. Right. The second important thing, and you need to pay attention to that, otherwise this mistake will create a problem later on in Stata. You need to make sure that the name of the variable does not have any space on it. So for example, can you see here return on asset? I put underscore after return and underscore after on. So we need to make sure that all our variable does not have a space, special characteristics, or numbers on it. So for example, from the start, we have here variable called board size. As you can see, there is a space between board and size. Therefore, Stata does not understand this writing. So I have to go here, delete the space, and swap it by underscore. right? So this is the first part or a first step I need to do in the Excel file to make sure that the variable names does not have space on it. So I look in the second column, I have board independent, and then I delete the space and I make it underscore. The third one, audit committee size, and then again I delete the space, I make it underscore. I delete the space here again and I make it underscore. Audit committee independence, again I delete the space and I make it underscore, and I delete the space here and I make it underscore. So I need to make sure that all my variables does not have any spaces. I'm sure they don't have because I checked before. I just left the only first 3 or 4 in the mistake format, so I can show you that how to recognize that, right? So all our variables should be without any space in the middle. So this is the only way the data will be acceptable in a Stata file. Then I will open my Stata. So this is when you open a Stata file, this is how it looks like, right? So in the left-hand side here, it will appear the history of the orders. So whenever I give a Stata orders, for example, do that, calculate that, run this regression, run the descriptive, every time it will store in the left-hand side the history of the command. And you will see today during the class, this area will come busy with a lot of comment. And you can save them, by the way. I'm going to show you that at the end of the class to save your history comment in case if you want to go and visit the comment. For example, if you submit a research paper and a reviewer came to you to add one variable, and instead of redoing everything, you can just take the history of the comment and amend it and run it all together in one go. You don't have to repeat everything. So we can see here in the left-hand side, the area for history of the comment. In the right-hand side, that should appear all the variables that I'm going to upload now from the Excel file. In the middle window here, this is the result window. So when you run a command, you will see the result in this area. And in a small box here down is a command area. When you write a command, so the result will, when Stata run your command, the result will appear here. One more time, in the left-hand side, you will have the history of the commands. On the right-hand side, you will have all the variable names and label. In the middle, you will have the result section. And the command area, you will have the command here, right? So I will close the Excel file after I made sure there is no spaces in the Excel file. So I close the file because I don't need it open. And I go to my Stata, and I go here, File, and I call Import. File, Import, right? File, Import. After import Excel, because I'm importing Excel spreadsheet. When I click on it, it will open for me a small window here when I can browse and get the file where I have stored the file here. So I have stored the file under data 1. This is a file we was working in the last 10 minutes. So one more time, you will say import, file, import, Excel spreadsheet, browse, and then you can go to the location when you have the file and import the Excel file. Make sure that you tick this box here, which is saying that import first row as a variable name. Why? Because as you can see here, the first row does not have any numbers, and therefore it will create a problem in our regression. So make sure that you click here, import first row as a variable name. So Stata will understand that the ISIN, the year, the board size, board independency, audit committee, etc., will be your first row. Import first row as a variable name. And I press OK. Obviously, from this here, you can swap between the sheets. Let's say if you have an Excel sheet, multi-sheets, and you want a specific sheet, you can do that from here. So I browse, I choose the Stata file, I press import first row as a variable name, and I press OK. What you can see here in front of you, in the left-hand side, the command import has been stored, right? In the middle, the result, we have 24 variable, 1,635 observation, number of years, number of observation I have. We have 24 variable, and in the right-hand side, you can see all your variable here, the one I get from the Excel file, right? So I import the file, and as you can see, this area for the history, this area for the result, this area for all the variable, and this area to type the command at the end. Right? Obviously, if you write describe, command call describe, that will describe all the variable here. In the middle, you can see here each variable that you have from the 24 variable. Anyway, describe is not an important command now because we still need to work with the data. Okay, so the first thing we learn together today, if I want to rename the variable. So as you can see here, I have some variable long to the limit that will be not clean enough in my table. When I take the result outside, for example, audit committee size is 3 words. Audit committee independence is 3 words. We have environmental pillar score is 3 words. So how to shortalize that? I can say rename, the command rename. I put the old command name, the old variable name, one more time. So I write rename, and I use the old variable from here. Let's say board size, space, and I'm gonna call it BS. So I want to rename the board size to be BS. When you press enter, automatically you can realize on the right hand side, board size disappeared, and instead of that, write BS. So I have here the history, I have here the result, I have here the variable. Let's say if I write rename and board independency, which is how many independent director in the board of director. Again, imagine it's any variable. I want to rename that. I'm gonna put a space and I'm gonna be BIND, board independency. So the variable now will be BIND. When you use it in any table, when you take it outside in your paper, when you take it outside in your dissertation, it will appear only with this 4 letters. And you just need in your appendix to write a table that variable definition and variable source. So in a small table, you will say BIND stand for blah, 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 but during the paper, you will use only BIND, right? For example, if I put here rename and audit committee size, I want to call it audit committee size, which is the number of director in the audit committee, right? Straight away, it will be ACS. This is the rename command. First command is the rename command to rename the variable to make the names short and simple so I can understand them. Someone will ask me question. I will say me, what after renaming the variable to BS? I forgot what is a BS because I didn't do much research. I'm new in my PhD and new in my master, and I don't want to forget that the BS stand for board size or ACS stand for audit committee. There is another command called label, and after label, you write variable, and you choose a variable you want to label, ACC, and then command, you put quotation mark, and you call the audit committee size. One more time, if you can see the command area here, label, variable or var, and then you put the variable name, and in quotation mark, you write the label you want to use. When you press enter on that, 1 second. Yes, label just has a spelling mistake. So you can get the variable from here, label. What's happened here on the right-hand side? It right under the label audit committee size. The label does not appear in your result. So when you run regression or run descriptive or you run analysis, the label does not appear in your result. It's only for you here. What will appear in your result? The name of the variable only. So it's like a dictionary. So for example, if the board independency, if I write here label, variable, BIND, and I write next to it, quotation mark, right? Percentage of independent director. And I close the quotation mark. Enter. What happened here? It will write in the label percentage of independent director. This will not appear in the result. It will only appear to you when you open the Stata file, that when you see the BIND, you see straight away that means the percentage of independent director. One more time. So what we did first, we open the Excel file. We make sure there is no space in the variable name. we import the Excel file using file, import, Excel spreadsheet, browse. We import the file we need. We make sure that we import first row as names, as a variable name. The variable will appear here, and we learn the first two commands. The first one called rename. And what is the rename we do again? We rename the variable. If I want gender diversity to be only GD, I don't want long name in my table. I can just rename gender diversity GD. Enter the variable already being renamed. If I want to write next to it a label, I'm going to write label var GD space quotation mark, and I put here percentage of woman in board, or any definition you have. So gender diversity is a percentage of women in the board of directors, right? I press enter, the variable straight away write a label for it, percentage of women in board. So you need to spend some time to rename all your variable and make sure you have the correct label, because the project will take time from you and you don't want to rename every time. So when you take the table outside, it will be already with clear name, nice name, and you have all the time the label next to you, right? Is that clear? I hope this is clear. So we finish here preparing the Excel file. I'm just highlighting what we finished so I don't lose the track. Preparing the Excel file, which is removing the space in the variable name, importing the data set into Stata, right? Rename variable, we done the renaming variables, and we done labeling the variable. Now we check for string variable. String variable, the variable Stata understood not in the numerical format. Not in the numerical format. So Stata does not understand this variable as a number. So in future, when you run regression, then the regression will not focus on this variable. So can you see here, there is a small pencil, and this file is for your data editor, right? When you press on that, it will open the Excel file for you, but in the Stata shape. One more time, there is, I close this one. Here, you can see the window called data editor, which is actually the data in a still Excel format, right? So all the variables I have into the Stata file. I need to make sure that none of these variables are a red color. If it's a red color, that means this variable will not work in my regression. Can you see all of them are black? Can you see that? Which one are a red color here? Firm name. Why? You know the answer? Because they are not numerical. And I can't do anything about that. Anyway, the firm name will not be used in any analysis. I can delete this column. It's not important for me now. So I need to make sure that all the columns are black color before I start the analysis. Any column that in red, you need to right click on it, data, and this conversion will be available. Now it's not available because the data is already numerical, but when you press data, the option convert from string to numerical will be available to you. So you click in that to make sure the data are numerical, are in numbers. Here we can realize as well that the first column is in red color. But what is the first column? Is ISIN. What is ISIN for our new researchers? If someone is new here, ISIN is a unique international identifier for the company. So if you are not collecting the data manually, if you're collecting the data through a database, for example, Bloomberg, Data Stream, Audit Analytics, Bordex, WRDS, Kimbustat, doesn't matter. Every individual database has its own identifier, ticker. Identifier means a code for the company. So Bloomberg has a ticker for the Bloomberg. Kimbustat has a ticker for the Kimbustat. They have different names. But the ISIN is a unique international identifier that I usually use because this will help me in merging the data from multi-sources. So again, we are not collecting the data. We are not explaining how to collect the data in today. It's outside of today's scope class. But if you are still gathering the data from Bloomberg or any source, make sure all the time you collect as well the ISIN number. So when you go to Bloomberg, you request Bloomberg to download the ISIN number in the Excel file. ISIN number, ISIN. When you go data stream, you request ISIN as well. When you go Kimbustat, you request ISIN as well. So you have ISIN, which is the same for every data set. Why? Because if I want to merge the data together, combine the data together, the ISIN will help me much on that. Because how are you going to merge the data? you tell to the data, the Stata, please merge the data based on the ISIN, right? So the ISIN is a unique identifier, just to identify the company. It's just a code for the company, but it's international recognized. So you can see it in different databases. It here is red because it has letters on it. It is not a numerical one. Does this affect me? No. Why? Because I'm not including the ISIN in any regression. The ISIN here just to merge the data together, and that's it. So I'm not including the ISIN in any regression, and therefore I do not need the ISIN to be in a numerical format. I can do it in numerical format, by the way, using decoding command, but I don't need that. So what I want to say again, that we need to make sure our data are in black color, they are numerical, except if someone is, if one of the variables are a red color but is not needed, that in my regression, I don't care about it much. Right? So here we did the preparation in the Excel, we imported the data in the data set, we make sure our data does not have a string variable, which is sometime it will have in your case. So you just basically go in data editor, highlight the variable you want to change. If it's red, you will have an option here called convert data from string to numerical. Right. After that, we did the string, we did the renaming, we did the labeling. Now we need to learn how to merge more than one data set. So this data set here is data set number 1. I collected yesterday from Bloomberg. I will save this file. File, save as, and I will save it, and I call it dataset version 1, and I press save. Right? Save the file as normal. We are saving any normal file, right? File, save as, you choose the location that you want to save it, and you press save. So we have now data say Stata number 1. Now the data saved. What we'll do? We'll go. I'll check if someone has a question in the QA. Can we see how to convert a string to numerical instead of converting it randomly, or do I provide the numbers? No, you don't have to provide anything, but I don't have here example of a string variable. You don't need to do anything. Right click and you press data. Okay, I'll try in the firm name, right? Just to show you. But the firm name obviously will give us bad numbers. But anyway, just to show you the steps, because this is the only option to see the string option there. So I press right click, I go data, convert a variable from a string to numerical. It will open a file for me, options. I need to make sure that I tick here. What is the difference between this and this? This will create a new column with a numerical. This will convert the current column to be a numerical. Which option, whatever you like to use. You might wish to create a new column, including the numerical, or you might wish to convert. Usually I convert. Why I convert? Because I don't need the string version of the data. I don't need it. I just convert the data straight away to numerical, and make sure you tick the first option here, which is convert the non-numeric string to missing value. So if you face an option that the cell does not have any numerical, don't leave it a string, make it missing. Why? Because I don't need it to be string. If I have it a string, it will not work. One more time. File name. Let's say if I want to change this file to be this data to be non-string, right click in the variable, I go data, and then convert the variable from a string to numerical. You have two options here. First option is to create a new variable, and then you have to name it, or you convert the current column to be numerical straight away. The original string will be lost. And this is the option I prefer because I don't need the string anyway in my analysis. Make sure I take the first one, and the first one here. If you face, I'm telling Stata, if you are facing a problem that one of the cell doesn't have any numbers on it, for example, a space, please change it to missing. Don't leave it a string, because I don't need any string value in my column. And I press OK. As you can see here, they make all missing. Why they make all missing? Obviously, you know the answer. Because none of them has a numbers. It was a company name. Right? I just want to show you how it is the steps. Right? So right click. Now the option convert will not be available. Can you see? Because the data does not have this string variable anymore. So convert variable from string to numeric. Take the first option. If you don't see number, make it missing and press OK. That will convert straight away the column to be numerical. And you can see here, the command for destringing the variable has been stored in the history. The result in the middle, how many variable has been replaced, and that's it. Right. So what we did so far, we prepared the Excel file by removing the space in the variable name. We imported the Excel file. We changed the string variable to be numerical. We learned together how to rename the variable and how to label the variable. If you remember, rename and label, to put the label here, so you understand what does this variable stand for, and renaming to change the variable name to be a short name. Okay, there is no new question here. Okay. After that, now we learn how to merge more than one data set. We start in the first bar. So I save the file, save as. I choose the location, and I press save. Because I have it already, tell me replace. I press yes, replace, no problem. This file is saved now. Now I need to go and import the other Excel that I want to merge, right? Because we are assuming that we have two Excel files now. The one I downloaded from a database and the other one from the database, or one I collect at the beginning of my PhD and the other one I collect after 6 months, or one has the data until 2018, but after 2 years, I managed to gather the data until 2022. For any reason, you have two sets of databases and you want to merge them together. So the first step, you save the first file, and the second step, you import the second Excel, as we did before. File, import, Excel spreadsheet, browse, and you take the other file that you want to import. Remember to import the first row as a variable name. Remember to import the first row as a variable name, and I press OK. He's warning me here that you have data in memory. I don't care because I already saved it, so I press yes. Now you will have only the new variable in the left-hand side. The command import stored in my history, and they tell me that we import 8 variable 1635 observation. Just a quick practice, we can do some rename. So if you put here rename, risk disclosure, and I put the risk disclosure, RD, right? Total audit fees, rename. I don't need to write all total audit fees in my table. I can say here audit fees, AF. If I'm scared that I might forget what is the AF stand for, I'm going to use a command label just for me, var, and I choose AF, and I put 2 quotation mark, and I write here total audit fees in pounds. In case if you have multi-country study and some companies has in pounds, some has in euro. It will write me the descriptive in the right-hand side. So this is a second set of data. I will double check if it has any string or not. None of them are string. As you can see, the string one is only Eisen, but it's fine because it has already letter on it, and I don't care much about that. The important thing here that I have to save this file, save as, and I save it as a dataset version 2. He telling me that you have already that because I have in my computer. It doesn't matter, I want to replace. Now what you have in your PC, you have 2 files, 2 Stata file. One has 24 variable and one has 8 variable only, and you want to merge this variable together. You need to make sure that the spelling of the Eisen, the word Eisen, is spelling the same in both files. So let's say if in the other file Eisen is written small, you have to come here and write rename Eisen, and you put it in a small format. So the Eisen has to be in the same spelling, capital letter, small letter, in both files. So I'm gonna put it back again to capital because it is already capital there. But in case if you're not aware of that, you need to make sure that both files has the same spelling for the Eisen and same spelling for the year. So if you have in the other file year start by Y small, you have to rename the file here, rename the variable here, and start year by Y small, which is not the case. So I want to rename it back as Y capital, right? Why I'm looking in the Eisen and the year only? Because they are the only ones that uniquely identify my data. I cannot use the ISIN itself alone. Why I cannot use the ISIN alone? Because ISIN is repeated multi times. So if you look in your data, the same ISIN repeated multi times because the same company has data for 2013, 2014, whatever the data period in your case. So I cannot use ISIN alone as a key of linking the two data set together. And the reason for that the ISIN is repeated by the number of years. And I cannot use the year alone. Why? Because the number 2013 is repeated multi times. And the number 2014 is repeated multi times based on the number of companies. The number 2018 is repeated multi times. So Stata will not able to merge this row with this row based on the year itself, because year is multi repeated over the data set, and cannot able to merge based on the ISIN itself because the ISIN is repeated multi-time during the data set. But the only unique identifier is to tell the Stata to merge the file using ISIN and year together. This is unique because you will never have the same ISIN with the same year repeated 2 times. Think about it, right? The company for the same year will be only repeated 1 time. So if I tell Stata to merge the data based on the ISIN or the ISIN, the identifier, and the year in the same time, so Stata will check the ISIN and the year, that will uniquely identify the data set. Because you will not have the same ISIN, the same year repeated 2 times, unless there is a mistake in your data set. Because you download the data, obviously, for example, Tobin Q will be only repeated 1 time for the same year for the same company. The WAC, weighted average cost of capital, will be repeated only 1 time each year, each company. That's why before merging the data, I need to make sure that the spelling of ISIN and the spelling of year are the same. Happy with that? Then I go to data. Focus now. I go to data, combine data set, merge two data set, and I say to him many to many. One more time. I go data tab. If you have the Stata, you can replicate what I'm doing. Yes, I will look in the question in the chat now. Give me a second. I'll press data, combine data set, merge two data sets, many to many. Many to many that I need all the variable from here to come to all the variable from. Right? Okay, I will look in the question here. Maybe someone is stuck. Composite key, okay, anything. Even if you don't have ISIN, let's say someone is doing research in a manually collected data. You can create ID. You go yourself an Excel file or using Stata and create ID 1, 2, 3, 4. So each company will have 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Third, the company will be 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. You can create your own identifier. So regardless of what kind of identifier you have, if you don't have ISIN because all your data is handling manually collected, you can create your own ID. You create a column, each company will have the same ID. So Morrison will have the same ID across all the years. Tesco will have all the same ID across all the years. Shell will have all the same ID across all the year. Vodafone will have the same ID across all the year. This is another solution. The string command is a right click here, data, convert variable from string to numerical, and you choose convert numerical to missing value. I cannot press OK because I need the ISIN to be correct. Right? One more time for you, Huda. Right click in the variable that is a string, which is red color. Right click, data, convert data from string to numerical, and I choose to convert a specific variable to numerical, so original will be lost, and I convert non-numerical string to be missing value. So if you face a problem that you cannot fix the, for example, okay, if I create new over here and I call it new ISIN for you to see. So I press create new numerical variable name new ISIN, and I choose convert non-numerical string to missing value. So if you're stuck and you couldn't find any cell without letter, make it as missing value. If I press OK, you create here all of them are missing, obviously, because this is ISIN. It does not have numbers only. It will work if you have numbers only. Anyway, I don't want to just lose the focus of the class, so we'll come back. We save both files we need. I'm going to open the master one now, data file version 1. So I'm going to open the file version 1 or version 2, whatever. And I press file, data, combine data set, merge two data set, merge two data set, and I choose many to many, because I need all the variables to come from both files. And the identifier here will be ISIN and year. Make sure. ISIN and year. If you use year only, you will have mistakes. If you use ISIN only, you have mistakes. If you don't have ISIN for any reason, that will be replaced by your ID. ID for the company. You create ID for each company manually. Right? So we merge between ISIN and year. One more time. I go here, data, combine data set, merge two data sets, many to many, and I choose ISIN and the year from here. Right? And then I browse, I choose the other file I want to merge it, which is dataset version 2, and I press OK. Can you see here? The data is merged. You can see all the variables together. You remember WAC, Tobin Q, risk disclosure, that was in the file number 2, and the file number 1 has the board size, board independence, and the audit committee, etc., etc. So I can go ahead and save this file, save as data version 3, for example. I press OK. Right? So I combine the data set together now. One more time, data, combine data set, merge two data set, many to many. You identify the data by ISIN and the year together, because this is a unique identifier for each company. You press browse, you choose a new file, and you press OK. I can do it for you again if you want, right? Quickly, if I open, I'll open set number 1, which is the original one. I press data, combine data set, merge two data set, many to many. I choose from here ISIN and the year. Make sure I choose ISIN and the year. So in your case, they will not be written, and you choose ISIN or ID and the year. And I choose a file which is dataset version 2, which is the one you want to merge it together, and you press OK. The data is merged and all of them appear here. Right? Usually it's a good practice to drop underscore merge. Drop underscore merge to drop the command call merge. Why? In case if you want to merge another file in the future, that will work. Because now if I try to merge another file, it will give me error message. It will tell me merge already exists. So I'm just removing the word merge from the database, nothing else. I can say, so for example, here I show you example, data combine data set, many to many ISIN year and press OK. Look, variable merge already defined. So to avoid this mistake, if you want to merge multi-files in the future, you say drop, and you drop the merge. Now it will allow you to merge another file you need. If you have the ISIN, okay. If you have the ISIN and the data is for New Year, not collected before, it will work. It will work the same. It will work the same if you do. So you want to, okay. So in your case, you can put the data under each other in Excel file. If I understand the question correct, I might try to double check that later on when we finish. But I think you can, if the data is for totally different year, you can just put them under each other if they are for the same variable. If they are for different variable, then the merge command should work. But I'll double check that. Okay, so what we did so far, we prepared the Excel file by removing the spaces from the variable name. We imported the data set. We dealt with the string variable. We renamed the variable, we did label, and we did the merge. Merge more than one data set. Now we merge the two data sets from two places using data, combine data set, merge to the set based on the ISIN in the year. I choose the other file. The data now is merged. I check for duplicate, and checking for duplicate is just to see if there is any error, just in case you was working in a late night, you was working day and night, you usually don't save your file, and happen by error that one of the ISIN and the same year has been repeated more than one time for any reason. For example, ISIN one time you write it small, one time you write it capital. So we're checking for duplicate. We're telling the Stata to check for us if there is any data repeated for the same ISIN for the same year, just to double check. And the command for that is quietly by ISIN and year generate duplicate condition n equal 109. And I will share the command with you end of the session. So I'll come to the data set. I put the command quietly. What does it mean quietly? The word quietly, when you use in the Stata, telling them I don't need the result. You do it and keep it for yourself. I don't need to see a result in the middle here. Just do what I want to say without presenting result to me. So quietly is like that. When you use quietly at any time, that means run this command in the background. So I tell him quietly by ISIN and year, generate duplicate or any name, the condition of n equal 1, 0 underscore n, which is mean it check if there is any ISIN and year repeated more than one time. For the ISIN, same ISIN, same year, same ID for the same year. If there's any repetition in my data, and I press OK. As you can see, quietly does not show any result because I say quietly does not show any result. But I can see here some dub. So the variable I created called dub, I want to sum for it. Sum dub, sum the duplicate. Dub is, by the way, is any name you guess. You might say generate Ali, generate Ahmad, generate duplicate, whatever the name you put here. So sum dub, like explain to me how the dub looks like. And you press OK. The dub start by 0, end by 5, which is very bad because it should be start by 0, end by 1. The maximum repetition for the same ISIN for the same year should be only one time. So we have a duplicate here. And to fix this duplicate, obviously the ultimate good solution is to look where is the error and why is the error exists and where is the duplicate came from and how, and you dig deeper on that. But just for the time for the class, as we don't explain research methodology, we explain only using the Stata, and we have to treat this error quickly now in order to run the future command. Otherwise, we will stuck and we'll make further error. All I need to tell Excel, drop if DUB more than 1. Drop if DUB more than 1, like if anything repeated more than one time, delete it from the data. Obviously, this is not the ideal solution because we don't know which row it will be deleted. If we have 4 rows for the same company, for the same ISIN, for the same year, maybe the second row is the correct one. But just to keep the classes smooth, we're going to drop the duplicate in order to be able to run the following command. So I'm telling Stata drop if DUB more than 1. I press enter. He tell me that we have deleted 313 firm year observation. So if I write some dub again, summarize the dub again, you can see here the minimum 0 and the maximum is 1. Right? Number of observation has dropped, but we deleted the repetition. So we need to make sure that we don't have any repetition by telling Stata by ISIN and year, make sure that we don't have any duplicate in the data. And if there's any duplicate, we should look for that in details, depending on your topic, where the data came from, how this error happened. I just generated a fake duplicate here just to show you how it looks like. Ideally, you shouldn't have any duplicate. And I told Stata to drop the duplicate if the duplicate is more than 1. The variable duplicate if it's more than 1. Now the data is clean and ready for me. What I did now is data management. Data management. Very important. I generate correct name, rename. I generate correct label. I merge 2 data sets. I make sure the data does not have any string. And I make sure the data does not have any repeated value, does not have any duplicate. I will have a look in the chat if there's any question here. You go see quickly. I'm trying to repeat. Tell me, is this, if you guys see You go say quickly. I think this is question is too late now. I hope I'm repeating. The session is recorded. I can go slower than that, but we'll cover less. I don't mind. We can cover only half of them and stop there, and we make another session for the other part. I don't mind. I planned originally to put the Stata in 6 classes, but we can extend that to be 8 classes if you wish, if you feel that I'm going fast for you. But I'll do my best. We answer question by Bushra, I think. I show you the string. We already explained that. Okay, what do I do if I want to merge more than 2 data sets? It's the same. You merge the first one with the second one, and you merge the third one. I will show you example now. Does both files should have the same variable ISIN? Yes, both of them has to have ISIN. Or if you don't have ISIN and year, you have to have 2 identifier. One for the year and one, let's say, don't call it ISIN if you are not really familiar with UK data or US data, call it ID. Generate a column in Excel and call it ID, Devika. So you call ID if you are not sure of ISIN is available, if you're talking about UK or USA, is available. So you can download ISIN from any database. If you don't have, or you collect the data manually, you instead of ISIN, you can generate by yourself a column, call it ID. Each company has the same number. Vodafone 111111. Shell Garage 222222. Tesco 33333. Egyptian Telecom 44444. You have to have a 2 unique identifier, year and the ISIN or ID. Why? If you use only the year is repeated more than one time because each company has the same year. So 2013 is repeated 100 times in your data. If you use only the ID as well as repeated because of the number of year, each company is repeated the same ID many times. You need to both together, year and ISIN together. I have no instead of ISIN. Yeah, that's fine. No problem. You can put any Bloomberg ticker. It depends, but ISIN is good if you're merging more than one data set from multi-data resource. If you want to merge to Ragab Abdel Sattar, what if I want to merge more than 2 data set? That's easy. Here, how many data set I have now? 2, right? I go and I merge the third one. Combine data set, merge, and I choose another one. Merge data set 3. After I merge the third one, I go and merge the 5th one. There's no problem. You can merge 10 files together. No problem for that. Can I use? Okay. Yeah, serial number is fine. Okay, guys. So what we cover so far quickly: preparing the Excel file, importing the data set. Make sure you don't have any string variable. Just if the question is not really urgent, we can. Okay, you're welcome.
We have one question as well with the Kishore. Kishore, may you switch on your mic, please? Open your mic so we can hear you. Okay, go on, Kishore.
Okay. So is Kishore asking or shall I?
Yes. Kishore, can you talk, please? We can't hear you. Okay, you can continue, Victor.
Okay, no problem. So we prepare the Excel file. Make sure that the variable name does not have any space. We replace that by underscore. We import the data set. We clear all the data from the string variable. We learn how to merge more than one data set together. We rename the variable, create label for the variable, and check for duplicate. Right? All what we did here in the left-hand side, by the way, I can highlight all of them, Control A, copy them, and I put them under Windows, what we call do file editor. So I have them in the future. So if I want to come after 1 week and run all the command again, I can just save this do file for me. Let's say you submit your work to your supervisor and he said, okay, I'm happy with that, but I want you to do a specific change. This change will change everything. Do I need to rerun all this command again? No. In my do file, I'm just going to correct this change. The supervisor wanted me to change, highlight all the command, all of them, and run all of them in one double click. Right? I hope this is clear. So you can save the command by highlighting all the command, right click, copy, go to Windows, do file editor, new do file, and save all the command you run during the session. right? Because of this session is just cleaning data, so it's not really important for me to save this command for now. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, any other question here? No. Okay. So I hope we are on the same page. Do I need to repeat anything? We prepare the Excel file, we import the data, we make sure there's no string variable, we merge more than one data set, learn the renaming, learn the label, check for duplicate. Now what we need to do now, we need to create what we call a group ID. And what is a group ID is, I'll explain why this is important. I want to tell to Stata, right, using the ISIN, generate a group ID, so all the ISIN for one company will take number one, and the second company will take number two, the third company will take number three. Why is that? So if you look in the data set here, right, can you see the first ISIN is repeated 6 times? Why? Because I have the data for 6 years. Might be in your case repeated 10 times, repeated 5 times, repeated 3 times. If I look in this item, for example, I will see it's repeated 6 times because the data set is repeated for 6 times. So I want to tell Excel, just to make Excel aware that all these ISIN are for exactly the same company. So just informing ISIN, informing the Stata that group all these ISIN together and give it code 1. Group this ISIN together and give it group 2. Group this ISIN together and give it group 3. Group this ISIN together and give it group 5. This ISIN together, group 6. So I'm telling Stata to generate group ID, which is equal to grouping based on ISIN. Again, the command I can share with you later on, or you can watch from the video, or you can learn by practice. Right? So I'm telling the Stata now to group the ISIN into a variable called group ID. Enter. Straight away, you can see a new variable exists at the end here. Can you see this variable? On the right-hand side, group ID. So I can summarize that, SUM. Group ID start from 1 and ended by 281. So how many company I have? 281 company in my data. One more time, I told the ISIN to create a group ID for all the company and give it 1, 2, 3, 4. When I Stata do that, we have now 281 company. So Stata now is aware that we have 281 company. If you open the data and you look what happened, you'll see the group ID at the end. Last variable we generated 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. Going with what? With the ISIN there. Every time the ISIN change, the group ID will change, right? By the way, I don't need the variable called duplicate anymore. I can drop it if I wish. Drop. I don't need it anymore. Just to clean the area here. Drop it means delete in Stata. One more time. So what I did now, I create a group ID telling Stata to understand that each group of ISIN will have related to the same company. Each group of ID will related to the same company. Any question in the chat? Okay. Thanks. Okay. Thank you very much. So here I identified the group ID. Everything is done. I'm ready to start. What I did is data management, data cleaning. Everything is clean. Now I'm ready to start my work in my Stata file. Assuming that you already renamed all the variable and labeled all the variable, check all the duplicate, you repeated what I did. Now the file is ready for you to work. You save this file and you use it in the future for your study during your PhD or your master or your research paper. Now, what we'll do, we need to tell Stata what type of data we are using. And to cut this short, because this is again a research methodology topic that will take hours to explain, the data in front of you, ladies and gentlemen, here is a panel data. Data repeated for the same company over the number of years. We call that panel data, which is, I think, 70–80% of the audience, if they are doing a quantitative, will be using the same sort of data. It is not an event study. It is not something will happen 2-3 times a year for the company, for example. No, we have total asset one time for each year for each company. We have, for example, board size one time for each year for each company. This is called panel data. Anyway, this is another topic, what kind of data we're using, but usually 80% of us will be using panel data. So I want to tell Stata this is a panel data. And to do that, I'm going to write a small command, say XTC. So XTset, XTset, and here group ID and the year. The command will show an error before I press enter, but I want you to know there is an error there. XTset, group ID and year. So I'm telling Stata that now we have the group ID and the year, and the data is panel data. This is how to define the data as panel to Stata. XTset group ID year. The group ID, the one we created 2 minutes ago. And I press enter. It doesn't show the error. Very good. Because it usually say you have to sort the data, and you can just press sort, S-O-R-T. Sort year, for example. The command sort is organizing the data based on this column. So if I write here, sort year, look in your data set, you'll see the year is ordered. Can you see that? 2013 first, then 2014 after, 2015 after, 2016, 2018. Sort by year. If I say to the data, for example, sort by Eisen, what will happen? You look in your data, you will see the data sorted by Eisen, right? If I say to the data, for example, sort by board size, what will happen here? You open the file, you look here, the data is sorted by the board size. But anyway, we don't need that. What we need here, the command XTset group ID year, which is giving the Stata the definition that this data is a panel variable. Panel data is repeated for the number of years for the same companies. So now Stata knows it's a panel data. This is important step, XTset group ID year, because if you forgot that, it will not affect you immediately in today's class or maybe next class. It will affect you in point 3, robustness check. When you try to run random effect and fixed effect, if the data is not defined as panel, the Stata will not be able to run robustness check for your data. Right? So XTset group ID here, data now is defined as panel data. Everything is ready. We're going to learn only 2 more things, hopefully, and then we'll open the floor for question. The first table you need to put in your dissertation or in your PhD or in your master or in your research paper. The first table is descriptive statistics. Descriptive, when you make sense of the data, you describe the data without going in details in any regression or any explanation or any hypothesis or any title, the relationship between board diversity and firm performance. I don't go all of that. I just explaining my data. Descriptive mean make sense of the data without interpreting anything, just explaining the data. So the descriptive, can we use a tsfill command to convert it from unbalanced to balanced? Yes, again, this is another point. Making the data balanced, unbalanced. Again, this will drop observation. This is another higher level. We'll just go smoothly step by step. Otherwise, because I am aware that some of the audience are still in level 7 or master student, and this is already too much for them. But we'll go through all of that. Obviously, anything I said, it has a little bit dig deeper on it. We'll try to write the basis first, and we'll go through how to change the data from unbalanced to balanced. But anyway, the first table you need to take out in your dissertation or your PhD or master or research paper is the descriptive statistics. And descriptive statistics, just to make sense of the data, you can use one of the following commands. 2. I'm going to telling you 2. The first one called sum, SUM. Right? And after you write sum, you write the variables of interest. How many variables you want to show? How many variables in your model? How many variables you want to discuss about? That the variables you include in your study. For example, if your study is the link between social score, and the board size. This will be your first two variable. And then you take some controls. Because the study, as you might know, has dependent variable, independent variable, and control variables. Dependent variable and independent variable, this is your research question, your title in most of the cases. The relationship between governance and social responsibility, the relationship between board size and profitability. So here I assume that the relationship between social pillar score and board size. So I choose social pillar score, I choose board size. But after that, you have to put control variable. Again, we are not explaining research methodology because there's a lot to say here. But to cut everything short, the model has to have some firm characteristics and some governance characteristics. Because you cannot claim that the social will improve only because of the board size, right? There is a lot of other variables that contribute to your dependent variable. So let's say if someone try to find a relationship between profitability, and we're going to look here anything for profitability, return on equity, and board size. Does the board size explain the profitability 100% in your understanding? Does the board size explain 100% of the profitability? The answer is no. Yeah, the bigger the board, the better the governance, the better the profitability, but it's not everything. There is other factors that contribute to the profitability. We call that control variable. These might be firm characteristics, firm size measured by total asset, firm liquidity measured by current ratio, firm leverage measured by the gearing, and some variable for board independency, audit committee, gender diversity, because the bigger the woman in board, the better the performance, etc., etc. Anyway, I don't want to overload you with too much thinking in this introduction. Here, after you write some, you put the number of variables that you wish to include in your study, which is include your main dependent variable and independent variable and the control variable that you learn from the literature. They are important in your study. What other variable contribute to the relationship between the dependent and independent? And I press enter. That will give me a descriptive table. You can see here the name of the variable on the left-hand side, the number of observation for each variable, the mean, the minimum, and the maximum. For example, we have return on equity, 846 observation, so the rest are missing. The mean is 18 and is ranged between minus 1015 to plus 488. Board size, we have 962 observation. The minimum board is 3 directors, and the maximum board is 16 directors, and the mean or the average of director are 8. Total asset over 1,322 company. The minimum is 27,000 and the maximum is 3.6 billion. Gearing is 1,281 observation, and start by 0, end by 9,124, and the mean is 118. And gearing is the total debt. I will see if we have question here. Okay, okay. So anyway, based on your supervisor suggestion or your reading or your reading in the literature, you decide what kind of variable you will include your study. If someone is studying the relationship between gender diversity and firm profit, so it will be gender diversity, firm profit, and other some variable that contribute to this relationship. We call that control variable. Other variable that control to the relationship between the main two variables. That will give you a descriptive statistics table, right? And you can see here gender diversity start by 0%, end by 60%. So the minimum firm has 0% woman, the maximum firm has 60% woman, and the mean or the average is 20% woman. Under this table, you just explain what I just said to you. You don't put your own opinion, you don't put any explanation, it's just a descriptive area of your dissertation. You just explain, make sense of the data. By looking in the board size, we can see the minimum board, the number of directors is 3, and the maximum is 16 with a mean of 8.7. By looking at the gender diversity, the minimum is 0 and the maximum is 60% with a mean of 20%. However, when we look in the current ratio, the minimum is 0.04, the maximum is 32%, while the mean is 1.8. You're just explaining what you see in front of you. How we can take this table out? to take this table out, descriptive, not regression, because regression in second class is different command. Same command what you done here, same command. In front of sum, you're gonna write as doc, ASDOC, as doc, as doc. So you start ASDOC space sum space all your variable. When I press enter now, the result will come in document file. We press on it, it will open Word file with the result ready, neat and editable, nice format. Do not take a screenshot. Do not take copy and paste Excel. Make it like that. That is easy for you. Editable file. You can enlarge it. You can make it bold, whatever you like. It's editable format, nice and neat and clean. Right? One more time, I'm going to close the file. So when we try to make summary statistics, I'm going to press sum here. Choose a variable of interest. If your study is about gender diversity and return on equity, so we're going to start by these two, and then you take your control variable, total revenue, for example, total asset, for example, audit tenure, board size, board independency, audit committee. Enter, that will give you the descriptive statistic. And if you want to take this one out, you can start the command by asdoc, ISDOC. Take it in a document. So you have this table ready for you in Word file, right? Type. Go back to the Stata. Another command to do that is called univar. So if you press univar and you choose the same variable I choose before, copy, I'm going to use the same variable, and before the univar I'm going to put as doc as well. So I want it in a document file. Univar will give you result but in little bit more detail. It will tell you the number of observation, the mean, standard deviation, minimum 25% quantile, median 75% quantile, and maximum. So the same table but in little bit larger detail. Can you see the problem because of the long name of the variable? Make the table ugly. Can you see that? That's why you need to follow my advice if you wish at the start of the class today, when we said that we have to rename all the variable to make them as short as possible. So when you take the data out in Word file, it will be clean and neat. So if this all are 2 letter, 2 letter, 2 letter, the table will be quite clean. So you can wish to use sum, you can wish to use univar. The difference between them, the univar give you the median of the observation, give you the lower 25%, higher 75% minimum mean number observation. Right. So we learned the two command now, which is one called sum and one called univar. Is any problem in this data? This is what I'm saying now is extremely important, because if you skip this part, the consequences will be severe later on, end of your dissertation part. Because anything you will choose later on will create a massive impact. So you have to go back from the beginning and to clean the data. So we need to check, is this data correct? Does that make sense for us? That gender diversity range between 0 and 60% with a mean of 20%. Does this make the data normally distributed? Does the 20% fall in the middle between 0 and 60? Does 20 fall between 0 and 60, guys? No. Can I expect audit tenure? What does it mean audit tenure, for example? The number of years the auditor serve in the same company. Anyway, I'm not interested to teach you audit variable, but you will see different variable in your case. Audit tenure, the number of years that the auditor serve in the same company, is rigid between 1 and 26 in your mind, and the mean is 6. Does 6 fall in the middle between 1 and 26? In other words, how many of them actually reach the limit of 26? And here we'll talk about extreme values or outliers. If I have 4 students in the class, 4 students, the exam is from 100. The first student get 100. The second student get 100. The third student get 100, and last student fail, get 0. When you calculate the average, you will say 1 plus 100 plus 100 plus 0. Total is 300. Divided by 4, the average is 75. Is that fair statistically to claim that the average student grade is 75? No, because of one student got 0, all the mean has been dropped back to 75. Although it is clear for us that most of the students score 100. To re-explain that, here in the audit tenure, can you see audit tenure? The minimum is 1 and the maximum is 26. How many auditor actually serve the company, the same company for 26 years? Maybe only 1 or 2. But because of these 2 or 3 observation, the data has been skewed away from the median, from the mean. So if I make here command called tabulate, and I put audit tenure, tabulate audit tenure, like give it to me in a table, and I press OK. How many auditors serve the company 26 years? 3. How many the company serve the company 25 years? 3 out of 971. But that makes skewed in my data. The data is not normally distributed now. So this is odd observation. We call them outliers. One more time. If you look here, in this table, gender diversity is range from 0 to 60. If I put tabulate gender diversity, how many of them are 60%? Can you see? 1. If I drop this one, the mean will be totally different. We'll go in different area. Had struggle to join. In case it's recorded, I can watch later. Okay. This is again is irrelevant question. Can you define the basal data by Eisen and year? Yes, but the Eisen is repeated. The Eisen will be repeated multi times. You can define by Eisen and year. All these are control variable. Bushra is asking. I think yes, you can have more. It depends on your topic. When it's your study. In my PhD, I have 18 control variables. Someone else will have 10. Someone will have 6. It depends on the topic. It depends on the literature. It depends what control variable can be used in your study. This is totally different story. It's away from what we're trying to say. So when I run the sum regression here, it shows me that the gender diversity range between 0 and 60, and all the 60 is only presented one time. We call the outlier. Extreme value affect my mean. This is called data cleaning, and I have to do that correctly in order to have robust data that can be used in the future. You might get away with data not really normally distributed on a master level, but above master level, PhD degree, or research paper, or conferences, you need to make sure that the data are normally distributed. So if you see a paper published and you can see the mean is not actually in the middle of 0, middle of the minimum and the maximum, that means the data is not normally distributed, so therefore they cannot be run by OLS regression, for example. So how to fix this problem? To fix the problem of outlier, there is so many treatment in this statistically. Again, our class is not research method. I'm just have to highlight this fact again, otherwise the time will not be enough. But one of the treatment, for example, is to delete this observation. You can just say to Stata, drop if GD equal 60, and that's it. We'll drop this information. But sometimes you have only now less number of observation and you don't want to lose them. Let's say you're doing a study, all you have is only 100. If you drop the outlier here and outlier here and outlier here, the data will get shorter. So one of the solutions is to drop the extreme values from far corners. For example, the lowest one and the highest one. So in the gender diversity, we have 0, 6.25 only one time. We can drop this one, and we can drop the highest one, for example. So you can delete this observation. Another solution is to replace this observation by the mean, assuming it was a mistake in data entry. So you know the mean. Where is the mean? GD. What is the mean? 20. So you tell to the Stata replace GD equal 20 if GD is equal 60. That's it. I don't want to run that now because it is not what I'm going to explain. I'm just giving you a quick overview. So you can drop this observation, one solution, if you want to take note. Second solution, you can replace this observation by the mean. So you're telling Stata, replace the gender diversity by the mean if it was the extreme value. Another solution. You can replace it by the median. right? You can make it missing, which is deleting again, or you can do winsorizing. What is winsorizing? Rounding up the far tail of the data to the nearest number to it. So you'll take 60 and allocate it to 50. And we'll take the one from the other corner and allocate it to the 7. You understand? So you are rounding up the numbers. So winsorizing is folding up the extreme values to the nearest number to it, not to the mean, right? And to do winsorizing is a quick command. I'm going to show you now, and again, I'm going to share it. You can say windsor GD. This is the variable I want to windsor. Generate GD underscore 1, another name. Windsor the minimum 1%, or you can say the minimum 5%, whatever you like. And I press enter. So what happened here in Stata? Stata generate a new variable called GD underscore 1. And when you sum this variable, it starts from 0, end by 37. Can you see the original GD? Let's show you. Sum GD and GD1. Can you see the original one? Both of them are the same number of observation, so we don't lose any observation. The minimum was 0 and the maximum is 60. Here the minimum is 0 and the maximum is 375, because he delete all the extreme values. So when I make tabulate GD1, you'll not see this extreme value anymore. The maximum will be 37.5, which is makes sense actually. The maximum woman in board in the UK should be around 37.5 or 40%. It's extreme value to have a company that have 60% woman, maybe one company or two. One more time, one more time, one more time, one more time. If I make some board size, you can see the board here started by 3, ended by 16. The mean is 8. 8 is fine. It can fall between 3 and 16 actually. But let's say if there is an extreme value here, I can just windsorize the board size, generate board size underscore 1, and cut at 5% or 1%, whatever you like. It depends how many observation you have. And now when you sum the board size with the new variable, board size underscore 1, you can see the difference here. The first one minimum was 3, maximum 16. The second one minimum is 6 and maximum is 13. And we have the same number of observation and we have the same mean. It's only removing the outliers. Removing the outliers is important step by deleting, by replacing by the mean, by replacing by the median, or by using windsorize. I did you two examples, but you need to go through all your variable and check if any of them has outlier. How you notice the outlier? The mean is not actually placed in the middle of the minimum and the maximum. For example, border independency here, the mean is 57 and falling between 0 and 100. So border independency can be winsorized as well, if I wish. So I'm going to go windsorize. I'm going to put windsor, border independency, generate border independency underscore 1 at 5%. Now I don't need to use the old border independency anymore. I need to use the border independency, the new one, border independency underscore 1. Can you see the difference here? The second one makes sense, right? Because now how many firm will have 0 independent director? Maybe 1 or 2, but they are outlier, extreme values. So it's the data will make sense. The number fall between 33 and 77. Before I go away from this point, so you need to check all your variables to make sure they are good presenting. They are, if the variable is okay, that's fine. Before I move from here, sometime when you run a Stata from your end, when you run Windsor, you will say command does not exist because your Stata is old or does not run this command before for any reason. To overcome that, you need to write SSC install, and you write the variable name you want to install. SSC install Windsor, for example. Let's say I have received the error message that Windsor is not available in my Stata, I'm going to write SSC install Windsor and I press enter. The Stata will check to upload this command from any command you see in my video or other videos that you don't see in your Stata. You can install it. Doesn't matter which version you're using, but write SSC install Windsor, right? For me, it's already exists and up to date, so it's fine. And you, it will be loaded and just Windsor will be working for you, right? The other treatment, so the first treatment, we treat the outlier. The other treatment is the numbers, they are absolute value. So if you look in total asset or total revenue, they are in numbers, right? If I sum the total asset and total revenue, numbers here are in billions. Numbers here are in billions because revenue in millions, asset in millions. So if your study is to find the relationship between number of directors and the total asset, the relationship will be very weak because standard the relationship, it will be very strange. Like you will find every 1 pound in asset affect your board size by 0.00000001 of your profit. You understand? Because the scale is different. The board size is scale from 5 to 10 or 0 to 20, while your total asset is started by 27 and ended by 3 billion. So the scale is different. If I tell you now, can you explain to me the effect of 1 penny spent in the UK economy? 1 penny. There is an effect for sure. 100% there is an effect. But how you present this effect will be 0.0000. You understand? The scale is different. And this problem usually happen when my variable are in absolute number. For example, raw number. For example, total asset, total revenue, audit fees. If I have audit fees here, I remember we have audit fees earlier. Audit fees, audit committee, board size, audit tenure, audit asset. Anyway, so any number, yeah, audit fees is here. So audit fee is ranged by 61,000 to 5.3. To find the relationship between sustainability disclosure, which is a number only 5, 10, 11, 12, and the total revenue or audit fees, you will find a relationship, but the regression will be very weird. The coefficient, what we're going to learn next week, will be very weird because the scale is not the same area. Numbers in asset and revenue and audit fees are in billions, thousands, while the other number in board size or board independency is ranged from 0 to 100 maximum. Do you understand the problem? To overcome this problem, we need to do what we call data transformation. Data transformation, we transfer the variable to more readable format. What I want to say here, if one of you has gotten the exam 100 out of 100, and the other guy got 70 out of 100. Can I make it 100 to 70? Yes. Can I make it 10 to 7? Yes. Can I make it 5 to 3.5? Yes. Can I make it 50 to 35? Yes. So we are just dropping the scale. What I want to say one more time, if the total asset is ranged between 1 and 70,000, if we divided all of them by 1,000, it will remain the same relationship, right? If you have 10 pound and someone else has 20 pound, I can say the relationship is 10 to 20 or 1 to 2. Simplify. It will remain the same, right? So this is called data transformation. One of the most famous transformation used in the data when they are in bound or in money numbers like total asset, total revenue, audit fees, we call it logarithm. Generate the logarithm. Most famous in the literature. When you read a research paper, they say we measure the firm size using the logarithm of total asset. Why do you say the word logarithm of total asset? Because total asset is very big in numbers. So you just say generate. You name the new variable you want to see. Let's say total asset or TA underscore log. This is a name. You don't have to use that. You can say log underscore total asset. It doesn't matter any name that you remember with it. Okay, I'm going to call it total asset underscore log equal, right? And here I'm going to say ln, open the brackets, total asset, close the brackets. What Stata will do now? We'll generate a new variable called total asset underscore log and this total asset underscore log will be equal to the logarithm of the total asset. Enter, over. Repeat that again for the revenue. So revenue underscore log, and I'm going to transfer as well the total revenue. Right? Where is the total revenue? I'm going to take the name from here, copy and paste. Enter. I can do that again for the audit fees. AF. Generate a total asset of audit fees. Logarithm of the audit fees. So when I use sum here, I don't use to summarize the old number. I use only to the new figure. Can you see the summarize now? Is that more neat? Can you look in the top here? Can you explain to me what is this 3.06 E plus 1111? Can you explain what is that? Too difficult, right? But now is more representable. The logarithm of total assets is range between 10 and 26, and they are exactly the same as above. And the mean is 20. The revenue is ranged between 13 and 26. So I create a logarithm, natural logarithm of the total asset, of the total revenue, of the total audit fees, and any other number you think is in bound. That high number, you want to shortalize it. And then when you present your sum table, you don't need to show the old ones. You show only the new ones. That is small, that can be explained. When you run the regression, will be better as well for you. Can you see? The table is more clean and more nice. It's not only the log here, you can use any other transformation. You can cube a number, divide the number by 1,000. So you can say generate, for example, fog, new, which is equal the variable fog divided by 100. That's fine. This is another transformation as well. Why I show you the log? Because the log is the most famous transformation used in the literature in terms of total asset, if you are using total asset and total revenue. The only limitation of log that will remove the minus. If the variable has a minus value, for example, the variable ranged from minus 20 to plus 40, you cannot use the log here because the log will kill the minus. Will remove the minus from the numbers. So in this case, you have to use another data transformation format. You can use command ladder as well. Ladder, LADDER, and if you put here total asset, for example, okay, so the spelling mistake again. Can you see? The command ladder will tell you which format that work perfectly for the total asset. Square root work perfectly, and log work perfectly. Right? So ladder is just for your information to see what type of transformation can be good for you. So if I say ladder, audit fees. Audit fees can be transformed to be logarithm, can be transferred to be square root, can be transferred to be cubed, 1 over cubed. That suggests you some transformation that will work for that particular variable. Okay, I'm not going to take your time much. We'll just move on to the last part. So quickly, we're going to revise what we said over till now, so we don't lose the track. We prepare the Excel file. We import the data set. We dealt to the string number. We merge more than one data set. We rename the variable, label the variable, check for duplicate. We create a group ID. And then we identify the data as a panel data. Do you remember the command for that? XT set group ID here. And then we learn how to run sum, SUM, which is show me the mean, the median, standard deviation, minimum, and maximum. We learn as well univar, with the same like sum, but give you more information. And we learn as well how to take them out. Can someone remember how to take them out? We start by as doc. So if I write here as doc at the start of the command, is only for the descriptive, by the way. Other table has different better command. As doc sum blah blah blah, and I press enter. That will take me the data in an editable format in a Word file that I can use in my dissertation. Right? The table should be the last one. Right? So you take this as doc in your dissertation or your PhD or your research, and you just make sense of it. You don't need to put your own opinion. You just explain gender diversity ranged from 0 to 60 with the mean of this. Return on asset, you're just describing the data. There is nothing about your research question yet. And we learn together as well how to deal with the problem. And the first one is generate new variable. Do you remember log? So when you have an asset and you want to generate log for the asset, so you write generate, or the new name you want equal ln in brackets the old variable name. Here, when you say generate total asset equal ln in brackets total asset, that will create a variable that is the logarithm, natural logarithm of total asset, which is easy to explain. We also test treating for the outlier. Do you remember the Windsor? The Windsor command is to delete the first 5% from each side and roll them to the nearest number. And we learn export the descriptive table to a Word file using asdoc. Last one. And why last one? I know we said too much today. I advise you to practice that so you don't forget if you are following the series or producing. Why I said that? All of that because it's descriptive has to come together in one go. Right? So I advise you as well to benefit from the future classes is to bring Stata and data with you to work with it during I'm working, and you tell me if you have any problem. Last thing in your descriptive is we solve correlation matrix. And correlation matrix, the command for that is BWCORR. BWCORR. Pairwise correlation. Correlation matrix, BWCORR. And then you put the variable of interest again. Doesn't matter how many variable you are using by clicking on them here or writing them. So BWCORR, and I'll take all my variable, right? I can choose from here, from the right-hand side as well. Fog BWCRR, that will give you a correlation matrix for your variable when you need to explain if any variable that is more than 70 or 80%, that means they are correlated with each other, and provide some explanation to that. Anyway, again, it is not a research method. How the variable correlated or not correlated, it depends on your study, it depends what you want to prove, because the correlation matrix can actually explain the relationship between two variables. So relationship, for example, here is a little bit strong between the audit fees and total asset. The higher the total asset, the higher the audit fees. Does that make sense? Definitely yes. The higher total asset, the bigger the company, the bigger the audit fees. So you just need to provide some descriptive what you can see from the correlation matrix here. We have correlation is high between revenue and the total asset. Do you agree with that? The higher the asset, the higher the revenue? Definitely yes. There is a high correlation between total asset and total revenue. What if I don't know how to read this number? Basically, you can repeat the command bwcor, put all your command, all your variable. At the end, you press comma and you write SIG, significant. So if you add comma SIG at the end, that will give you the table again. And under each table, you have a significant level explained to you. And as you know, if you know anything under 5% is significant. Anything under 5% is significant. So here is significant, here is significant, here is significant, etc., etc. One more time. The correlation table can be extracted by two ways. The first way is to run the correlation command, BWCORR, and you write all the variable of interest. The second one is to do the same, but add comma.significant at the end. And if you want to take this table out, I explained to you before, you add asdoc at the start, ASDOC. When you write asdoc at the start of any command in the descriptive section, that will take the, obviously debuting all the tables here, but you can see the correlation matrix here. Can you see that correlation matrix? Pairwise correlation. All right, I'll have a look in the chat quickly. Thank you, Dr. Saud. Okay, all these control variable. Okay, the control variables depends on your study. Okay, so what we said today is nothing about regression, nothing about relationship. We just cover the descriptive part, which is the first part in your dissertation, or the first part of your research paper, or the first part of your, it is not enough. Minimum, you have to have these two tables, descriptive table sum and correlation table in your descriptive part. Then you will have the regression model, because till now we didn't test anything. All we need from here is a sum, the conclusion of today, the table of sum, and the table of correlation. This is the conclusion of today's class, as you can see in front of you. The table of the summary statistics and the table of correlation matrix. Both of them has to be cleaned, has no outliers, and presented good. So when the examiners or supervisors or assessor or reviewer look on that, he can see the variable makes sense and the mean is actually landed between the minimum and maximum perfectly. Right? So quickly, just to cover, we learn how to import data, how to rename data, label data, merge more than one data set, check for duplicates, the generating duplicate, creating group ID, identifying the data set as a panel data. This is extremely important because it will affect the future classes. How to run command call sum or univar. You don't have to do both of them. One is enough. Either use the summary statistics or use the univar. And how to do a correlation table, how to deal with outliers by Windsor command, or how to generate a data transformation if the variable are in huge number, like total asset or total revenue or audit fees, huge number, how to transfer that to a smaller number using the logarithm of total asset, or you divide it by 1,000, you multiply it by 1,000, or use the ladder command. Right? Let's see now what the question here. يمكن استخدام شرط أثناء معالجة بيانات أفكارها متغيرات. Yes, Huda, I think you asked me this question before the class. I will answer to you outside because I don't want to distribute other but too much detail. But when you write here count, for example, and you put I missing, and you put any variable you want, let's say audit tenure, that will give you, okay, the variable list is not allowed, I missing. Okay, I will look in the command you ask for. I will send it to you later. Is different what we're saying here because it's the question is long, and that will create some confusion for. Yeah, we have some of the audience are still at the early stage of the dealing with data, so running this too complicated stuff might be not sufficient at the first class. But I told you to remind me. I will send you that later on. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Last thing, don't forget to copy the command you have done and put it in do file and save it. So if you want to go back and do any minor change, you don't have to run all this again. So for example, if I go to my supervisor and he said, add one variable here, this variable are not enough. I can just add it here manually. Let's say gender diversity, right? And I take it copy, add it in all the rows, all the rows here, gender diversity as well. Right? And I just go copy all this and run it in one go. Press enter. All the table that I have for all the dissertation will be run again if I have the do command file saved for me. How I register for the next session, please. Dr. Al-Qattan will handle that. Thank you very much for the interesting session. Thank you, Hazar. So Dr. Al-Qattan will announce how to register for the next session. I think the announcement will be by email or by, if you are follow us on the Twitter or Facebook, it will be announced maybe next Sunday or the Sunday after. It depends on the availability of ITAR. Anyway, thank you very much. I enjoyed my time for you, and sorry if I was a little bit quick. I tried my best to cover the important part for today's class. And if you have any question, feel free to ask.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mahmoud. Jazakallah khair for your effort and your time. We really appreciate it. I think you answer all the question regarding the next class, inshallah, will be the same day next week. Inshallah, will be on Sunday at the same time, which is 8 a.m. 8 p.m. Sorry, Kuwait time. Dr. Mahmoud, what is the next class? The title of the next class?
Yes, the next class will start to look in the regression models. So we'll do the ordinary least square, OLS, fixed effect, and random effect, which is a basic regression analysis.
Great. Thank you so much. Inshallah, I will announce it tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. Inshallah, tomorrow I will announce it in all the social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn, everywhere. So yeah. Thank you so much, Doctor. Inshallah, see you inshallah next week. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And also I want to thank all the audience for attending today's webinar. Thank you again and see you inshallah next week.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Ahmed. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.